All right, we are back. It's 2013.
Yes.
It is 2013.
Good job. I would have screwed that up.
Notice Robert is different now. He got rid of his ass.
Robert turned Puerto Rican.
All right, and the good thing is, we took a break for a while, but we are back on again. And this is actually season 2. So, season 2. So expect good things, expect great things, high flying action. And guess what we're going to do on day 1 of episode 1?
Closing the gap.
No, we're going to talk about stance. All right, stance. What are we going to talk about stance? If you look at season 1, we talked about Ichikima on the first day. So you learn how to basically open it and the concept behind it regarding controlling your center, maintaining the center, and making it function. But how exactly does it work? How exactly do you put it to use is the next level that we're going to take a look at. And season 2, we're definitely going to take we will have some flashbacks to season 1 as far as looking more in depth on things, but we will be going over new drills and stuff like that, going over Chum Q, looking at Silam more in depth as far as application and so forth. But today, episode 1, we are going to concentrate basically on how the stance functions. So first of all, let's take a side view. Open up your stance from here. Why don't you stand in the middle? Yeah, that's good enough. That's your stance? How come you only do 2 motions?
All right.
Where's Robert? Robert! Someone text Robert's ass. All right. Okay, first motion, second motion, third motion, fourth. Okay, you'll open up a little bit. Still too tight. Yeah. All right, so as we know, the main function of the stance is to control and be aware of your center. And right now, actually move over here. Let's move you right here. Right here, okay, good. Hopefully you can see
Maintained it.
Okay, so right now he has his stance. Looks okay, looks straight ahead, and then he's vertical. The main concept with the stance is what? From the first motion, when he pulls up like this, he gets this stretch area here, C1, C2 area. And then when he does the second motion, the L4, L5 pops out, just enough. So when those 2 tensions occur, you have this vertical alignment that you have in place. Now, once that vertical alignment is done, and if it can be held, then he tries to do what? He tries to figure out exactly where to put the weight in between the heel and the ball of the foot. Like, for example, right here, he seems okay. A little bit lean forward here, and then look, right there is good, okay? Now, if he leans back, make a little more drastic motion so they can see. He's leaning back, so where's your weight right now?
On my heels.
On the back of the heel. In the back of the heel, right away, he'll feel it, and you can see his feet lifting up from that slightly. I'll over-exaggerate it, okay? Just like that. So that's the main goal when you open up the stance. Have the vertical in place. The tension from the entire spine has to be in place from the top of the head to the L4, L5 region. And then you have to find a balance in between, okay? We've talked about that before. Now we're going to go deeper into how this actually used. So for example, how exactly is he using the stance? Is he going to be staying in the stance? Is he going to be moving in the stance and so forth? We got to understand how important the grace period is to actually make the stance function. So we're going to do this from a little bit of a single sticky hand use right here. So he's here. Let's step back just a little more, just in case. We're right here in this area, and hopefully you can see the entire body. Otherwise, I'll have to reshoot this. All right, but a lot of times you're stepping in and out. Okay, my weight right now is dead center. Okay, now if Danny steps in, okay, he steps in, I step back. Now if you look at it, it looks like it's good. He stepped in, the force is coming in, I step back. But in reality, let's look at this again. I'll do this again, and I'm going to do it wrong. The first one was wrong also, but he steps in, and I step back. Now, you're wondering, what exactly is wrong with that? He's stepping in, you're adjusting back, and you're not getting jammed in from that point. The problem with that is the function of the stance, or the purpose of the stance, isn't coming into play at all. And that's what we're going to detail today as far as how exactly is the stance coming into play. So, he's here in Bangsao, I'm here in Fuksao, okay? Now, as soon as he steps in, and I feel that little bit of force, I'm already stepping back. If you do that, you're anticipating that force coming in. If you do that, you're not actually letting the stance come into play and actually working. Okay? So in other words, if I'm here without any force, this is my vertical in place. When the force comes in, all of a sudden the pressure comes into my stance and you almost have a C-shaped formation that in order for me to maintain that. Once that C-shaped formation comes in and then the grace period hits, then I actually have to step back. But if I'm actually in this place where I'm vertical, okay, maintaining my stance, the force comes in and I just move back, that means I just planned that step back. I never actually used or developed the actual stance itself. All right, maybe I should talk about that. What does that mean? So here, look at my vertical. Okay, we're gonna go to slow motion first. My vertical's intact right here. My spine's in place, I'm in center. So he steps in, and guess what? Notice I just step back right away. Looks good, but guess what? My stance didn't get used at all. I didn't develop or use any of the force involved with the stance. So now, we're gonna go really slow on this one. I'm here, again, my vertical's in place. He starts to step in slowly. Go slow, go slow. Now watch, this force is coming into my arm, okay? It's coming into my arm, and if it's properly aligned, it connects to my body. Now watch how from this point, when my vertical's here, he's stepping in a little more, and look what happens to my body. See how I have to make an adjustment? See how from here, I'll over-exaggerate it. Okay, I'm over-exaggerating it. Do not copy this exactly. It just naturally turns into a C while I still maintain my weight in the center. That's actually you utilizing the stance, and it's actually coming into play. So from the tension from here, from the top of the head to the L4, L5, it actually curves in order for me to maintain that balance. If I don't make that adjustment with my stance naturally from that point, when he steps in and the force comes in, I just basically end up rocking to the back of my heel. So in other words, I have the vertical, it stays vertical, and I end up getting planted to the back of the heel. And I never end up using the actual stance where it actually compresses to take in place. So once again, we're here. Here's my vertical, okay, just to keep you aware. He steps in a little, and all of a sudden the force is starting to come in, and now all of a sudden I exaggerate here. Now the center weight where I'm at right now is between the heel and the ball of the foot. It's still okay. Now he starts stepping in more, and now all of a sudden I start feeling my weight now shift to the back of the heel. At that point, that is your grace period. At that point, that's signaling to me that when this C shape happens, and now I'm ending up at back heel, that's the maximum I can hold this stance, and now I maintain it and I step back. All right? That makes sense? That's a little more deeper look at how it's happening. I don't just simply go from here, he steps in and I rock back and I step back. Okay, if you do that, imagine, you remember how we said we had a bottle of water on our head or a glass of water on our head filled to the top. If that happens, if I end up leaning back, right there, the water spilled. Okay, your center is already compromised. You have to use muscle. Okay, so at this point, right here, he steps in, my vertical's in place. Now all of a sudden, I end up being C, and guess what? The water on top of my head is still not spilled. Now all of a sudden, now my stance is actually being used at this point. Now he's pushing more beyond my point, and the the weight goes to the back of the heel, but yet the water hasn't spilled. Now I know that the water's about to spill, and then I maintain it to my vertical and then step back. If you do it that way, then you are actually developing the use of your stance. If you end up just going like this for the next 5-10 years, he steps in, I step back. He steps forward like this, you are planning. You are not developing the stance. You will never end up using the stance, and the stance in no way will help you whatsoever. Okay?
Powerful.
It just won't. It's just you copying a motion and not understanding the function of it. Now, in addition to that, let's add into that. When this happens, when I'm utilizing my stance from here, this point of touch is very important. This is very pivotal here. At the moment we touch here, let's imagine this is 5 pounds of pressure. This 5 pounds of pressure, when he steps in, okay, he steps in, this doesn't change. This doesn't go from 2 pounds to 10 pounds. So he steps in 2 pounds, and then all of a sudden I step back, and then I lose that point of touch. That means I'm not learning how to control that point. I'm not learning how to control that power at that point. This 5 pounds here, he steps in, my vertical here, my C comes in, and then all of a sudden the weight goes to the back of the heel. Now I start stepping back, guess what? The weight here of 2 pounds or 5 pounds stays exactly 5 pounds. It doesn't change for him. So him stepping in stays exactly the same. But if he ends up going to this point where he steps in, he pushes harder, he feels more weight here, he could take advantage of that. He steps in, and then this goes lighter, he could take advantage of that too. He steps in, and I maintain the power, then he can't take advantage. It's dead neutral. It's exactly the same point whether we were here or here starting off. So that is very key. In order for you to develop that kind of power and do that properly, it starts from the stance. As boring as the stance is, as everyone's like, oh, the stance is so boring. You got to ask yourself, why the heck do I spend that much time on the stance? Because there's a purpose behind it.
Who would say such a thing?
Who would say that? Why would you say that? I don't know. Who would say that? Stop emailing me about that. All right. So that's the key. If this pressure changes, why would this pressure change? The hand is based off the stance. So if I end up leaning back and my stance is off right away, guess what? This pressure is going to change right away, no matter how well I want to do it. The hand's only as good as my stance is. So in other words, once I lose that vertical, whether I lean back or forward, guess what? The power, no matter how well I try to control it, can't be controlled. All right? So, you want to add anything? Or you want to...
What about you? So you explored it from the side of, you're taking the pressure in, you're able to hold your stance. But what about the person who's coming in? They have to try to keep that the same too.
Same thing.
Yeah.
But it's no different. So in other words, if Danny is here, I'll be Danny, he'll be me. Okay. If I want to step in, the vertical has to be maintained as well. So in other words, if my weight's here and I take a step forward, if I end up leaning back, hard for me to work. If I end up leaning forward, he feels a change here. Well, a lot of times what happens is when people take that step forward and they're trying to move their hands, they try to move with the hand first. So it goes like this. Look how my hand moves like this, and then I end up using muscle. Even if I try to relax it at that point, it's impossible. When this power here stays 2 pounds, I control it from this point on. And when I step in, look how my body moves. This is my hand moving first, and look how my body moves first. See, so you can see the body's moving. Okay, not my hand, and then my body follows. So you got to be able to maintain that, whether it's stepping back or forward and coming into that point. Otherwise, if you lose that vertical alignment, you're going to end up using muscle every single time.
Can you define Wing Chun mentality as far as, like, let's say we're in that position, right?
Yeah.
What's the mentality if someone tries to break away from the position, like pull back on the weight or something?
If he wants to step back, then you make him stick to you. I'm not sticking to him. Because when I touch, the moment I touch, I'm not just touching for the sake of touching. We'll go more in depth into this. Once I touch, I connect to him. He's my target right there. So in other words, he steps back and I just go like this. Guess what? I have no range of target anymore. I have no awareness of target. But when I touch like this, I connect. See, I connect, make him stick to me at this point. When he steps back, I connect. See, same power no matter whether he moves forward or backward. It didn't adjust. Why do I have to be able to do that? Because this is my target every single time. That's not my hand. The hand signals to me where the target is. Okay, so that's very pivotal to be able to do that. Otherwise, people step in, they get jammed in. Yeah. Step back, they get stretched out. Or they try to disengage. The whole point is sticking hands, make them stick. All right, that's enough for episode 1. You should have questions on this. If you don't, well, just check out season 1 again. All right, but anyway, if you want, also join us on Facebook. There's a lot of postings and studies that I put on there quite a bit. And all right, we'll see you next time for episode 2.